So, Charlie, how do the rental delinquencies compare to how they did before this COVID situation?
Yeah, so we're, I guess, kind of just over, 2 months for all intents and purposes into this. I kind of think that the shutdowns really started at the end of March. So we've been through April, full month there, and been through May, a full month there. And in that time, I mean, gosh, it seems like so much time. And so many things have happened in that small amount of time, really. Um, so during that time, besides the unemployment numbers going crazy, we've had the couple rounds of stimulus that have created $1,200 per person or more if they have dependents of stimulus checks that have gone out. And then at this point, most people have received those in one form or another. We've had increased unemployment benefits, an additional $600 a week for folks on top of their normal unemployment if they were eligible for that. Expanded eligibility within unemployment as well. And then, of course, a lot of businesses have received things like the PPP loans, the paycheck protection loans, so that they've been able to retain more employees and keep employee pay at a higher level than they likely otherwise would have. So we've had a lot of stimulus opportunities for folks, and that's definitely helped. There's no doubt about that. Traditionally, before all of this, we were at the end of the month less than a 2% delinquency rate. So basically, we would have maybe one, maybe two houses that had not paid in full, and that we were kind of, working on either working through some kind of payment plan with them or potentially heading towards an eviction, unfortunately. But never really more than one or two homes in a month that we would be in that type of a situation. Right now, we're running at about a 10% delinquency total. And now that's based off of dollar amount, not 10% of our properties haven't paid us anything. So a lot of that 10% delinquency is made up from tenants who have paid us something, potentially half of the rent or 3/4 of the rent, but they just haven't paid all of the rent yet. But there are a handful of the folks in that 10% number that unfortunately haven't been able to pay anything at all. And there's various reasons that there could be. I know unemployment, even though there are increased benefits and eligibility, there have just been so many applications for unemployment that we do have some tenants that have just unfortunately not yet received their unemployment checks. So, that's a very valid reason why they might not be able to make any payments at this point. But for the most part, folks have started to receive those unemployment checks. And for the most part, out of that 10% delinquency number, we have some sort of payment plan with that tenant. For the most part, our payment plans right now consist of at least getting some kind of payment every 2 weeks. Now, I'll say from a management standpoint, what we've been working and talking with our owners, for the most part, if we set up some kind of plan and somebody doesn't pay us once every 2 weeks, once we've established that, whatever that dollar amount may be, knowing that the eviction cases are back open, the courts are back open for that, we're suggesting filing or starting to take steps towards filing if somebody's not sticking with a payment plan. And I know that sounds kind of harsh, but it's something that in this situation, if we've set up a payment plan, we've committed to something, we don't want people varying from that. Or if they're going to vary from that, we need them to be transparent with us. We've got to have constant communication in order to make sure we understand fully what their situation is so we can work with them. And for the most part, our owners are very, very willing to work with the tenants. As long as there's transparency, as long as there's communication, there's a lot of owners that are very willing to work with the tenants. Now, I will say it is dependent a lot, though, on the owner's individual situation. So if you're an investor that has multiple properties, you might be able to weather the storm a lot easier than somebody who only has one property. And if your tenant at your one property isn't paying and you have a mortgage, you can try for mortgage forbearance, but that clearly complicates things, and that doesn't mean that your mortgage is going away by any means. It just means it's delayed. So, your bill's still stacking up. So a lot of that and the willingness to work with tenants maybe longer than a couple of weeks is going to be dependent on the owner. But like I said, for the most part, folks are working with us. We haven't had very many people go silent on us at this point, which is really good to see. But the biggest thing that we're preaching as a management company is transparency. Please be transparent with us. Let us know if you have any hiccups, things like that, so we can work with the owners and work on those payment plans.